Hi, I'm Heather Pavlik. I'm the women's volleyball coach here at Juniata College. I've been with the volleyball program for 24 years now.
Hello, I'm Scott McKenzie. I'm the Associate Director of Athletics. I've been here 20 years on College Hill, and I've also coached the men's and women's soccer teams.
And I'm Nate Norbo, head men's lacrosse coach here, first year, and starting the inaugural season for 2022.
Well, I had chosen Juniata as an athlete, and so I've spent 4 years here playing volleyball. I actually only spent about 1 year away at doing grad work, and ended up back here and have been here ever since. So for me, it's more about why have I chosen to stay, and a lot of that has to do with the wonderful balance we have of academics and athletics, how easy it is for this community to all work together to try to achieve good things for our student athletes, and just the camaraderie and the people have kept me here for a very long time now.
I will agree 100% with what Heather said. I chose to come to Juniata to grow in my professional career, and like Heather, I've chosen to stay because of the people, the challenges that you are faced with that help you grow professionally. The support that you get here is incredible. I'm a firm believer that you make the big time where you are. So I found my big time, and my big time is here at Juniata.
And then for me, definitely the academia side of things, as well as being the landmark conference. And like they've said before, the people. My short time of being here, all my expectations have been surpassed with working with others in the community, whether it's admissions, other coaches, professors, and then I think the overall support in athletics and from our facilities, to our weight room and strength staff. They have everything here for us to succeed. Yep.
Right now we have a little bit over 400 student athletes wearing the blue and gold of the Juniata Eagles, and that's a little bit over a third of our campus population. I think it's a wonderful mix. It really puts things in perspective of how important expressing yourself athletically is. It also creates a huge community of like-minded student athletes that support each other, and it's a wonderful place to be and express yourself athletically.
Well, I don't know that giving 100%, right, is challenging to say at any given moment. I think how we deal with things with our players, our student athletes, is to say that whatever you have that given day for your academics or your athletics, give all of it. None of us are going to be 100% at everything every day. If you have 95% that day after you get done with your academics to give to us, then we just like the 95%. And I think academics would be the same. Now, having said that, I think we always prioritize academics. I think it always comes first. But it is very easy to do both here and do them very, very well at a high level, as long as those are your top two priorities. And that doesn't mean there isn't time for some of the other normal college student kind of things, whether that's student organizations, clubs, student governance, whatever that might be. There's time for those. You just have to prioritize, and hopefully they put those academics first, and if we can get athletics being second, that would be great.
We have found the relationship between our student athletes, our coaching staff, and our faculty members to be phenomenal. We ask that our student athletes show the same level of respect to their academic instructors as they do to their coaches, which means that they are active in the communication and active in the relationship in managing their commitments to both their team, their teammates, and their academic success. In the 20 years I've been here, it is phenomenally rare that you're going to have an instance that you can't talk through with regards to the inevitable conflict between your athletic schedule and your academic schedule. But I believe we are keenly aware of the important balance that is required to do that, and also we place the importance and the responsibility on our student athletes to form those relationships. And once those relationships are formed, the problems melt away.
We're in the Landmark Conference, so most of our schools are within a 3-hour, 4-hour bus ride at the most, and us being the more Western school in our conference. But speaking for our sport, it's pretty parallel as far as the competition and things like that. But as you've seen from some other conferences in Division III, there's dissolving, there's addition and movement. I think the best thing that we have in our conference right now is that we are 8 schools that are pretty solidified and matching what we do with each other, and I don't see it going anywhere for a long time, which is important to a lot of sports, that every student athlete has the opportunity to play for a championship and go to the NCAA tournament.
In addition to the Landmark Conference, our football team competes as a proud member of the Centennial Conference, and our men's volleyball team competes as a member of the Continental Volleyball Conference, the CVC. There is an umbrella conference as well that all of our sports belong to, which is the ECAC, Eastern Collegiate Athletic Conference, which provides our student athletes with additional postseason opportunities and recognition events. And as Nate said, the stability of the Landmark is really driving how comfortable our student athletes feel competing in the blue and gold of Juniata.
It mostly has to do with how athletics are awarded as far as scholarships. Division I and II can give athletic scholarships. Any money that a student athlete would get at the Division III level is based on their academics and their need. So just where those funds are coming from is the biggest difference. There's really no difference in how hard our athletes train or compete, nor their love or passion for the game. It's all very much very similar in a lot of different ways, and even the competition level in many sports, there are a lot of Division III teams that would compete easily in the middle of Division I, at the middle to the top of Division II. So it's very much a program by program situation as far as the competitiveness. So most of it just has to do with that athletic scholarship awarding.
The heartbeat in a Division III athlete is no different than a Division I or Division II athlete. The commitment to excellence is no different. It's kind of an ownership issue. We don't own our athletes. They're free to make decisions that are best for their academic and their collegiate experience. We don't hold anything over them to force them to do things that may be contrary to their academic success or their 4-year graduation rate. You take a look at the graduation rates of Division III athletes versus Division I and Division II, certainly more Division III athletes can graduate within a 4-year window. And that's for a lot of different reasons, but mostly because we don't hold anything over them. We don't own them with regards to our sport. They own their experience, and it's their experience to enjoy.
It's a very healthy environment. It makes it easy to go into the gym every day knowing that your student athletes are in the gym with you because they want to be there. They're there for the passion, they're there for the love, they're there for the training and the discipline, and we're not holding anything over their heads to be there, which is really nice.
It's not a job.
Just the athletic side of it alone, if you break it down, Division I, Division III, it's basically the allotted time that us as coaches are allowed with our players, and to coattail what they were saying. I mean, in my experience coaching Division I, Division III tends to, you get more guys that are, call it bias, but maybe a little more passionate, and they want to be in the gym, they want to be out on the field. There's something kind of greater. They may have come out of high school with a recruiting deficiency, size, speed, whatever it may have you, and it just takes them longer to develop. Everyone runs their own race through college athletics, and some players take a little more time. And I think that's where you see some of the players fall to the Division III level, and then they turn their career into being All-Americans and things like that, and actually end up being better than some Division I players that are out there. So it's unique, and it's really cool that to see players go through those transformations.
It certainly is possible. I think student athletes that are wrestling with that question need to understand the primacy of their academic success first, And then after they establish that primacy, if they believe they have the energies and the time and the resources available, again, the beauty of Division III, it is their experience. And if they can be an active roster member of more than one team, more than one sport, while maintaining their academic success, we are not the ones to stop them. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think it depends what sports, right? It depends whether it's a complementary sport. If someone wanted to come in and play, say, volleyball and basketball, which kind of overlap by a month, that can be really challenging. But when you talk about something like soccer and lacrosse, or field hockey and track, or on the men's side, football and track, that's doable because now you're not crossing over seasons. So that there's some of that goes into the picture there as well.
Well, that's a really good question, and that will differ depending on the coach and differ depending on the sport. Coaches have their own ways of having their athletes peak at different times of the year, both peak with regards to the beginning and the end of the season, peaking during a week of competition. Different sports here have different competitive schedules. Some may be overloaded on weekends, others may split their time between a Saturday game and a midweek game. And all of those different variables will create a practice schedule, be mindful again of academic success. But a lot of that depends on the coaching philosophies, the team needs, the sport-specific demands. But I think the great part about Juniata is we have a staff full of incredibly professional coaches who are all experts at what they do. And they are well-versed in the demands, both academically and athletically, of their sport. And they construct schedules, both practice and competition, that have their teams peaking at the right times of the year. And I know you want to add to that.
Well, I think the most important thing is that, again, all of us do have different schedules. We have different playing schedules, practice schedules. The thing that makes it all work is the fact that our department is very collegial. We all work together to try to make sure that everyone gets what they need. There's only so many facilities, so we share facilities. We really don't have many facilities that aren't shared. So being able to talk with one another, to schedule effectively and intelligently is really important as well, and to try to help everyone be good.
Now, Nate, you're new to this game here at Juniata. How have you found the construction, at least the thought process, as you look to construct your first practice plans?
Yeah, it's similar to what they said. It's communicating with other coaches. So our at Gibble Stadium, it's men's, women's soccer, men's, women's lacrosse. So sitting down and talking with them, through the summer, because they will be in season in the fall, and we will be out of season. But we're allowed 16 practices, which I'll do in 4 weeks or 5 weeks, depending on how long we would like to go, and just working around their in-season practicing a little bit. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is to keep the stress level or anything like that low on the student athlete, making sure that it works really well for them. That's really not difficult to do. And then it would obviously flip come springtime for us in working with soccer. It's really not as difficult as anyone may think, but just like I said, keep in the back of my mind the players and making sure that they're not being asked to practice at 10 o'clock at night, something like that.
There are not at the Division III level. You have and let me go back and add one caveat. You need to give them a day off each week, so they'll have a day off, and what that day is depends on, again, how the coach has constructed their competitive and practice schedules. But again, at the Division III level, and certainly here at Juniata, and I'll go back to the professional nature of our coaching staff. We understand why you're here. We understand that we all have a common mission, which is to be as competitive as we can while graduating you in 4 years. And we're going to construct schedules that maximize your ability to be competitive, both in the classroom and on the field. And as my colleague Nate said, being mindful not to exhaust you along the way. We're going to challenge you. Heck yeah. And I don't think anybody would be wanting to join us if they didn't want to be challenged. And we'll challenge you. But the support level that we will provide you, both in the decisions that we make behind the scenes and the decisions that we make with you on your roster, are going to point you towards success.
Nothing more than it costs to be a general student here. That's kind of the nice thing, is that you are pretty much in that part of your existence are very much like the regular students. So whatever your financial aid package would be here, that would really be the only cost for you, which is the same as everybody else. After that, things like, you know, our travel and uniforms and all of that kind of stuff is taken care of for us.
We're going to ask you to make an investment, and that investment is to be made in yourself by you. We're going to ask you to invest your energies, your talents, and your commitment. And the payday for you at the end of that investment is incredible. We can do so much as coaches, but the investment you make in yourself, paying yourself with hard work and dedication and commitment, will produce returns that will dwarf Wall Street.
That investment, we talk about teams and things like that. You know, teammates that are made here are different than friends that you're gonna, you know, make through high school and things like. Teammates are, you know, I think about my experience, are guys that you call it, they watch your kids. You know, the friend from high school is someone you can go grab dinner with. I think that investment, what you're gonna walk away with, are such large intangible things that you're not going to get anywhere else. And that can be said true for a lot of schools, but that's definitely a really big focus for a lot of us here in our team cultures and how we compete and what's important to us as a you know, a department.
Connection. Being a Juniata student athlete connects you with athletes who wore the blue and gold from the early 1900s up until the present day. And I have always been flabbergasted, using a SAT word, at the number of Juniata alums I see across the country in my travels. And I wear my eagle everywhere I go. And people come up to me in airports, restaurants, hey, you work at Juniata? And when they pronounce it correctly, I know they know what they're talking about. And it connects me with generations of other student athletes that competed here at Juniata. And for you, as a prospective Juniata student athlete, it connects you with people in the future and in the past. It gives you an immediate network of people who understand that you have something in common. And as you are entering the world as we know it, the connections are so valuable and so important. And like my colleague Nate said, the teammates that you make here, they go to your wedding. They watch your children. They're with you through thick and thin, and those connections are invaluable. And it's a pleasure. Now, I think it's important that we let somebody who wore the uniform of the blue and gold to answer that question as well.
They're right on. I think the connections I made here, not only with teammates, some of those have lasted me my lifetime so far. And we carve out time to see each other every single year. It's pretty special. And but it goes beyond that. There are professors who I had here who I built really good relationships during my 4 years here. I still have them as friends. I speak to them regularly. I think it's one of the most unique and wonderful things about a small school like this is that you meet so many people and you have firsthand contact with so many people while you're here, and that doesn't change. I still talk to those people. I still spend time with those people. I'm still working with some of those people, which is amazing. There are professors who were here when I was a student athlete. They've retired, but they still live in the community. And so the ability to still have that is amazing. And unique to our sport, that I played volleyball here, I'm now the volleyball coach. The opportunity to play really competitive athletics add something to your education that you cannot get anywhere else. Anytime you put yourself on the line. So when your goal is really high, it's a little risky. And but the ability to do that and put yourself in that position builds some resilience and some character, some determination. And I don't know that you can get that in any other arena. So I think it is part of the education as well. For instance, I tell everybody that I recruit that one of the things that's neat here, you have the person who's teaching the course that you go to. If you're struggling, that's where you go. You go to the person who's teaching the course. Most times here, that's a PhD who's teaching the course. And when you stick your head in their office door and say, I didn't quite get that today, you're not going to get the message of, well, just sign up for a time outside my door, which is 2 weeks later when you don't even need it. You're going to get it. Hi, Brittany. How are you? Come on in, sit down. How was the game last night? I didn't get to watch it, but I saw some scores online, or I saw you play last evening. They'll go as far as they put their cell number on the syllabi. I have absolutely had players sitting in hotels in a hall, not understanding chemistry or physics or whatever it might be, economics. And they will be on the phone calling a cell phone of a professor on a Friday evening. And it's not only okay, it's welcomed. And that is just really unique here.
Other things that...
Yeah, I mean, I've always talked to guys about this place, why it can be successful here. Obviously, we're adding a new program and want to follow suit of some of the other programs that have done really well here, and there's no reason not to. Based on a lot of different things. I think the environment and the community around here, you're really here. There's not a whole lot of places to go. Town is right there, sure. But you're going to class, you got practice. There are no fraternities or sororities, which really makes you be a part of your team. I've coached and played at places that have that opportunity, and it definitely pulls and stresses players to make different decisions and things like that. That's why, in my mind, why can't you be as successful as anybody here? And also the academia side, and at least our sport, it's a pretty white-collar sport as far as kids are, coming from that kind of a background. And we are ranked so well academically, and obviously being so high in our conference on the academic side, I don't know why guys wouldn't be interested in being here by any means. It's just kind of that perfect culmination of everything you're kind of looking for as a player and an athlete for sure, and that balance of those two. All right, we talk about a lot with the guys that I recruit of you're going to be doing something other than lacrosse after this, and it's very important that your education and everything like that, and the connections you've made, professors and things like that you get the GPA that you want to earn, all right, to get internship opportunities, to have job opportunities. And I tell guys that all the time. I want guys to be having options come graduation of where they can work. And unless it's something they're really pursuing in further schooling or something like that. But we all have that realization. There's really not much left after this on the athletic side. So, I feel like it offers it here at a high level.
It also shouldn't be lost. Juniata is a serious academic institution, and competing as an NCAA Division III student athlete is a serious undertaking. It's not for everyone, and we are serious people doing serious things with regards to preparing you for life using your academic lessons, and also preparing you for life using the competitive lessons learned through athletics. So this is serious stuff, and I think that we're going to ask you to commit. And like I mentioned earlier, the gifts at the end of that commitment are immeasurable. But we don't want to paint the picture that this is easy. But again, is anything really worth it ever going to be easy? If you are a successful high school student athlete, then you already know the equation to becoming a successful collegiate athlete. just that level of commitment and that level of not accepting who you are today to be the zenith of who you're going to be. So we're going to ask that you keep working hard, and it's worth it. And if you can embrace that lesson, there's nothing that's going to be outside your grasp.
I think how much they change, how much they develop. They really come in being, we say they're adults at 18, but not really. They're quasi-adults maybe. But by the time they leave here at 22, they kind of are adults. And some of the things that we've been able to provide through athletics to help them figure out who they are, what they're about, and what they stand for is insanely rewarding. So when you watch them walk across the stage at graduation, it's a different person than the person who arrived here at 18, and I think that's the most rewarding for sure.
Over my years here, my 20 years at Juniata and my 30 years in college athletics, the greatest reward I don't see until about 10 years after they leave. And for me, what I remember most aren't the wins and losses. The bus rides are amazing, but what I remember are getting the invitations to weddings, getting the birth announcements, the fact that I can still stay relevant in the lives of people who I have no business being relevant in the lives of anymore. I'm no longer their coach. That is intrinsically the best reward I've ever received in this career, is the fact that we form the relationships that remain relevant over time, and that is a gift for us that you give us, and we thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different experiences come to mind. Watching young guys come in, change over those years. I think it's watching them go through some trials and tribulations of their own, and just kind of, I've always kind of believed in showing guys a path, not necessarily walking it with them, but them trying to maneuver that. And I think that's also a telltale sign of when you're at a good institution where they are being challenged, they're going through adversity. I don't want guys to leave here that haven't experienced any of that, because the byproduct of that is becoming a resilient person. And that's what I want for guys when they leave here. But man, there's a bunch of different ones you can think about. I mean, wins and losses. I mean, I can remember, guys how they are after a big win or winning a championship and things like that, and or graduation, or even when you think about some of the hard losses, the good and the bad. Guys come together in different ways. But I think all of that together is the most rewarding. And I just think the mentorship and the fellowship and guys that I've coached that are now coaching that, will reach out to me about different things and, how they're coaching guys and recruiting some of their players now where they're coaching at. I think the biggest thing too that I try to keep in mind, it's a humbling kind of experience. It really keeps you grounded. And at the end of the day, for me, and I think a lot of the coaches, they would agree, we're in a people business. And I think I always try to put that first, wins and losses aside, but making sure, players are doing okay, mental health, physical health, any of those things, families are okay. At the end of the day, it is a game, and it's a classroom out there that we all use, practice and games. So I just think that, you can never stop learning either, and hopefully these experiences keep continuing to grow for me as they've had more experience than I have.
Nate and I are lucky. We're sharing the table with a coach who has raised a national championship trophy twice. And I think she will tell you that the national championship game is a singular event. And she'll also, because I've heard her say this, what happened during that day did not win the national championship. What happened every day before that won the national championship. That's not just exquisite coaching, but that's life. The rewards you get today are probably about the hard work that you've enjoyed doing the last X amount of years. And that is, I'll speak on her behalf because she's far too modest to admit this. The culture that she has developed in her team and the culture that we have developed in our department pays back the athlete for those daily expenses of effort and commitment. And national championships are a result of many days of working hard when nobody's watching. Let the cameras be on you as the ticker tape falls and the confetti falls, but it's what you did every day before that nobody was watching, that Heather will correctly say is how that national championship was won.
Yeah, it's funny, the logo mantra for the year for one of those teams was today plus today plus today plus today equals championship. So you couldn't be more spot on.
I know as a coach, I felt that winning was kind of everything, and that trickles down to your players. I never perceived it that way, but they feel that pressure as well, which is then you get away from your process and your preparation and how you practice, and you're more focused on the games, which is something that I'm more familiar with, which is the process of practicing, getting your players ready. And then the game will be the game. It's kind of, I felt it was kind of the other way around. There's, like I said, it's, they're there, for, people are paying them to be there based on their athletic ability. They feel like there's some pressure for them to perform, or, they may not get any more money to come back.
I think it's why some of the athletes, I know we cross over small Division I's all the time and a lot of Division II's, and I think part of the reason we end up getting some of those people here is because we don't own them, and I think what comes along with that is that the scholarship isn't the end, right? The playing collegiate ball and getting better and growing and all that's the end. That's what you're looking for. So I think it's a different mentality.
Mm-hmm.
When the rare or unfortunate occurrence happens that a player separates himself or herself from the team, there's a little bit of a pause because the athlete is assuming so much stress. This experience isn't going to go further, whether that be their choice or somebody else's choice. And sometimes just saying, guess what? It's okay. You don't have to leave. You can stay here. Because I think there's so much pressure on, if I don't perform, I'm going to get kicked out. Well, at the Division III level, where we don't own the athlete, it may not be the greatest thing in the world for you or for us that the separation is occurring, but it doesn't disrupt your life. You go on here and get a phenomenal degree. And if the worst thing that happens at the end of the day is you still get a Juniata degree, you're okay. It's going to be all right. And that's a very important piece of the Division III puzzle, is just because you may choose or have the choice made for you that you're not going to continue as an athlete, you're okay. You're here and you're going to get one heck of a degree and have one heck of an experience. And there's a lot of value to that.
I think to the multi-sport athlete one too, in the recruiting process, I come across this quite a bit, and I'm a big believer in having players continue to do multi-sports, especially through high school, and if they want to do it in college as well. There's definitely some good overlap there. It allows for more inclusion amongst the community, across teams and things like that. I think sometimes you see that at some maybe other Division III schools where it's just very pocketed with the teams. But if you have, for us, we've had some crossover with football and things like that. It allows lacrosse guys to hang out with football guys and vice versa. And, you don't get that definitely Division I level. You're kind of one or the other. But the recruiting piece, though, too, I'm never going to tell a kid to stop being a kid in high school. Keep playing. Keep having fun, which you're going to have the rest of your life to grow up. And no one should be telling you to stop doing this or that, to focus on one thing. It doesn't allow you to continue to grow and develop physically, mentally, interacting with other coaches, different teammates. There's too many crossovers that you're going to miss out on. And so for here, even, I definitely I've already talked to football coach and everything about it, and he's all good with it, because we have that crossover a little bit. I'm excited. I'm excited to see if we get some guys that want to do both and how that'll play out a little bit. I've only played with one. I played with a teammate who did both, and it was fun. So I'm excited.
I got a lot of good advice. I mean, all you have to know is who my mentor was, and that pretty much my days were filled with good advice. I think the best advice I ever got from Larry was never forget why you're doing it. You're doing it for the athlete, and when decisions have to be made, you always keep them at the forefront. And I think that as far as if an athlete entered the room while something else was going on, everything else went away. You help that student athlete first. And so I've just tried to maintain that, to never lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing. And it's very easy to do that when all these other pressures kind of, rear their ugly heads with what we do for a living and the kind of the environment we're living in this day and age. And, because sometimes it is kind of win-win-win and win at all costs, and being able to keep that in perspective and understand that you're doing this to help these young people grow and develop and become who they're supposed to be. So that was the best I've ever gotten.
I think there'll be a theme. If you ask 100 coaches, I think there'll be a central theme that goes through, which is the care of the student athlete. The advice that I got when I was a very young coach was that they're not going to care what you know until they know that you care. And that was always central to the way I approached my athletes, was I had to let them know I cared about them as people, and then they were much more interested in what I knew about my sport. But until they knew that I cared, they didn't care what I knew.
Mine were probably some more just observations from mentors, but along the lines of what they both said is the time. Every student athlete or any player that I've ever coached, their time is always more valuable than mine. That was a little bit of a learning curve because, we got a lot of things going on, like Coach said as well, whether it be travel, scheduling, budgeting, things like that. But when that student athlete walks in, and you could talk about anything under the sun, just taking the time. That's all it is. And we all have this technology now. We can work from anywhere. So, and I've told any guy that I've recruited here now, and I believe that it's something that's inside of me that I've learned over the years from watching my mentors and how they've interacted with their players, whether they're head coaches or other assistant coaches that I've worked with, is that time and just investment. Sometimes just listening. We're not even talking. We're just listening to what's going on, and that was probably some of the best things that I've ever seen or been around and learned just by observation.